I'm going to switch up the order for you on a little bit here.
For sure. Yeah.
Because I answered one of your questions in a way. Is the pocket aces strategy dead? We had the LABR draft, the mixed league 15-team LABR draft that Fred and I did last week, streamed it the first 90 minutes live as well. TGFBI is ongoing. A lot of the Earth leagues are done. Tout mixed league is tonight. So there are a lot of things going on. Fred, we've got 10 takeaways from these early drafts. I'm going to switch up the order for you on a little bit here.
For sure. Yeah.
Because I answered one of your questions in a way. Is the pocket aces strategy dead? You asked. You were the only person in mixed labor who took starting pitchers in the two pitchers in the first 4 rounds. Someone else did 3 and 5, but we just didn't see it. However, in TGFBI, I've taken 3 pitchers to start the draft, 2 starting pitchers and a closer. I'm in the middle of the draft at 8, and I think that's one of the reasons why it happened that way, why I did it. But I don't think it's dead. It's just it's been, I don't think it's nearly as popular as it's been in the past. I'm happy I'm the only one doing that, though.
I agree. I think because it's not as popular, like it can't be dead. Like the same reasons it was a viable strategy, I think still exists. So it shouldn't be dead. Is it less appealing now? I don't think it probably should be that really either, but it's gone out of vogue. So it's not popular anymore. I see if you take a pitcher in the first round. So it's kind of like how it wound up I feel like for me in labor, where I took a pitcher in the first round. Okay. And then I wasn't planning on taking another pitcher, for say till probably around 6 or so, maybe 5, something like that. And then just one, like I have Brian Wu like in a tier with Sanchez and Yamamoto, kind of ahead of another tier of pitchers, the actual tier he goes in. So when he fell to me past his ADP, I was like, to me, this is great value. I'm taking it. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think you have to target you shouldn't maybe target pocket aces, but if you take a first round pitcher and then just, if that's the way the draft falls to you, we were talking before we started recording that it's certainly, you'll experience this right now in TGFBI. Like it's certainly very freeing. Like after I had Skubal and Wu and Mason Miller in the first 4 rounds, like I could kind of just pluck the highest ranked hitter off my list for several rounds. And just chip away at different skill sets and different positions and things like that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the pocket aces strategy. I don't think in this environment you need to force it. But I think it's still viable.
Yeah, I agree. And I just like that. I've had success. I won labor doing pocket aces a couple of years ago, and then for some reason didn't go back to it. So that's a shame on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think, I think you can even mix pocket aces with a really good closer. And then you're just committed to like I say, like 5 or 6 hitters, like in your next few picks. So yeah, I think it's still viable. There's a lot, like when you start breaking down the middle tier of or the bottom tier of aces / high tier of number 2s, like there's some risk there. Like Jacob deGrom is old. Chris Sale is old. Joe Ryan's on a really bad team and has had some injuries. Like there's some Kyle Bradish. I'm excited about Kyle Bradish, but like admittedly, like hasn't made a lot of starts the last couple of years. Dylan Cease is all over the map. Nick Pivetta is kind of all over the map. Like there's Hunter Green has never done it. He's been a really good pitcher, but he hasn't done it, like be an ace over 170 innings or something like that. So people worry about Logan Webb's whip. I was going to say Logan Whip's web. There's some risk in those pitchers once you get past the top 7 or so pitchers. So if you wanted to get a couple before you get to any of that and just skip all of that and then maybe check back in with a Chase Burns in round 9 or something like that, I see that as a viable, right? You come out of it with Skubal and Yamamoto and Chase Burns. That's what you've got in round 10. And you've got 7 hitters or something like that, or 6 hitters or something. You maybe do have to put your closer strategy in there somewhere too. Like maybe if you go pocket aces, you can't get two set closers. Maybe you just get one, and then you're going to play around with the other one later.
I think it was with you that I was doing the podcast. We were just talking about some of the ADPs and tiers and all that. Mm-hmm. And I far preferred the 3rd tier to the 2nd tier. So it kind of follows. That's one way to kind of get around that a little bit.
Right.
I'll just avoid the 2nd tier. I'll get these two, these 2 aces at the top.
Yeah.
I went Yamamoto over Sanchez. That's the other thing we could talk about too. Sanchez is probably a better bet to throw more innings. and obviously has a huge strikeout upside. I think Yamamoto is probably a better bet to have good ratios and is on a slightly better team.
Yeah, I think they're a coin flip. So, pick your guy. I don't know if it matches. Like you could, I think you argued Yamamoto maybe because you've already picked an ace. So
Yes.
let's get less innings, but better innings. I can see that for sure. So like I say, I think there maybe if you're picking either one of them as your actual ace, maybe then you go Sanchez for more innings,
Right.
since he's going to be your best pitcher. So yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. All right. You ask, why do people not like the batting average specialists? You thought Jacob Wilson and Luis Arias were too late. Why don't you elaborate on that for a sec?
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's a negativity in fantasy around the guys who are great in batting average. So for example, Luis Arias is like a really good bet to hit 300. I forget his career average, but I think it's over 310. So it's a really good bet. Here we go. 317. Holy. So 317 career hitter. Like, what is that the equivalent of in like a homer guy, like a 317 hitter? You know what I mean? Like, is that the equivalent of a 40 homer guy, a 35 homer guy, something like that? And get Jeff Zimmerman probably for sure to break it down for us, because he loves to do those comparisons. Like, what's a 130 whip guy compared to certain ERAs and things like that. But anyways, Luis Arias and Jacob Wilson, similar type guy. I just think we get so like dead about them because like the counting stats aren't going to be there. Luis Arias is supposed to hit leadoff for the Giants. So he's had a couple seasons where he scored 80 runs. Could he score 80 runs as the Giants leadoff hitter? Probably, if he hits 317. And so, yeah, you're going to get 6 homers and 8 steals or something like that. Well, there's other guys going in that range that are going to hit you 28 homers and drive in 80 runs, but they're only going to score 60 runs because they don't get on base well, or they don't run well, and they're going to hit no steals. They're going to hit 240. Yeah, I just feel like Luis Arias and Jacob Wilson sit around a lot in my drafts. I just took Arias in an NFBC draft yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago, but he had been the highest ranked guy in my queue for like 2 rounds, and then maybe 3 rounds. And then finally I was like, okay, fine, sure, I'll take Luis Arias. So
Right.
I understand their profile maybe doesn't fit some teams by the time they go off the board. Like, some teams are like, hey, I've got a lot of batting average. I feel like I don't really need them. But for some teams, my Arias team is the team where I started with Kyle Schwarber. I went pitcher, then Kyle Schwarber to start my draft. Well, like, he offsets maybe Kyle Schwarber's 235 average that I'm going to get this year. So
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like they're undervalued. I feel like we get more excited about the guy who might hit 30 homers than we do about the guy who might hit 315.
I think sometimes we're chasing power or speed, and Arias doesn't really do enough of either to really make a difference.
Yeah, we don't chase batting average, maybe even when we should.
Yeah. The other thing too, like Jacob Wilson specifically, really, really low average exit velocity. There is no home run growth here coming. I don't think there is. And, unless we get reports, he bulked up, he's trying to be faster twitch, trying to generate more bat speed, and it's something like that. His profile still could work for what you need. I'll grant you that. But I think that there's a little bit of concern. The other thing is Arias is first base only right now. He'll get second base back this year.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have it right now. So if you're drafting, do you really want to fill your corner with a no power guy? I think that's the question.
But you've only got to fill your corner with him for a week or two, and then you can go to your middle, but just having middle corner, that's usually, one of the best, like first, second. It's not second and third, but that's a really nice pair of position eligible. You know what I mean? Like, to move him, that just makes him more appealing to me. I've tried in my rankings to be pretty conservative on Arias. That's what I did. I tried to be pretty conservative on Arias. Like, I've got Arias at something like 6 homers and 8 steals, something like that. And then, and same with, and respectable RBI and runs. Like, I tried with both of them to just not get carried away. But Jacob Wilson in our labor draft, Scott Pianowski ended up taking him in round 18. And he was my highest ranked guy for 2 or 3 rounds. I think what hurts Wilson a little bit too is he's shortstop. So shortstop's just so deep. Like, that was what hurt me, is I was looking at him, but I already had Ezekiel Tovar. I already had Connor Griffin.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen with Connor Griffin, but I felt like it was too early to hedge my Connor Griffin bet with another shortstop. Like, then what am I going to do with Connor Griffin? So if he makes the team, or when he makes the team eventually. So that probably hurts Wilson maybe more. Maybe for that reason. I have Wilson ranked a little higher, but I probably view them about the same because of the position eligibility.